So I think I gotta push this button till those start flashing, and then I touch this one for 2 seconds. Oh. Alright, hold on. Gonna throw the mic on. Just so everybody popping on, this is Christian Addiction Recovery. I'm about to get into all that, but I'm talking recovery over here on this channel. Recover from what, you might ask? Everything. Pretty much everything. Ah! So I gotta scoot back enough to where I'm trying to get you guys to be able to see my PowerPoint. So hold on, I'll tell you what, this has been a whole dang setup trying to get this. I got the ring lights out on the couch. Just want to make sure you guys can see the PowerPoint. Because I'm going to try to learn you something today. Any suggestions? Let's see what happens because if I go there, you're not going to be able to see it. Let's check it out. I could turn it this way, but I think that's going to make it small on everybody. All right. Can I zoom out? It's not giving me a lot to work with here. Maybe if I have to go back even further? Let's see. All right, let's try this one now. All right, so now I should be able to get my tracker. Nope, he's not gonna follow me because he's facing the wrong direction. Can I flip him around? Sorry, whoever's on here, appreciate your patience. Ah! What up, G? Yeah, I'm trying to do something new. Let's see, can I turn it around? Does it work? Negative, it does not work that way. I'm sorry, that's probably loud and all kinds of stuff. I got some new gadgets for Christmas. Maybe that will help me be a better member of society. So anyway, trying to teach a class here. Just anybody popping on. Anybody popping on. Teaching a class any moment now, any moment. Thanks for sticking with me. Ha! Oh! Dang. All right. I didn't mean to frighten you if I frightened anybody. All right. Look, people popping on left and right trying to watch me mess up. That's all right. I ain't mad about it. I'd probably be doing the same thing. I'd be, look, everybody, look at this dude messing up. He can't even figure out. Oh, Nikes. All right. One thing I didn't recover from is using a word from time to time. See my peoples? What up, my peoples? All right, let's see. Why is it not zooming back? It was zoomed back just a second ago. All right, everybody, maybe we just won't do the PowerPoint. So, what's up, y'all? Missed y'all. I miss y'all. Oh, wait. Oh, nice. Okay. But real quick, and I gotta get on. I'm down here now. Ha! Check it out. I'm gonna get on my tablet over here so I can see what y'all are saying. But while we're waiting, who here is in recovery? Who here is in recovery? Let me get a witness. Anybody? Nobody. Oh wait, do I slide this down? I don't even know how this stuff works, y'all. Anyway, so, oh wait. For life, already. Well, guys, just for those who don't know, I started this channel a while ago, about, almost 4 years ago now. And I actually started it as a means to just kind of journal. I found out that I have super ADHD when I did go to recovery. Oh, I gotta mute that. I'm gonna get a little echo going, hold on. So, why was I saying ADHD? Found out I have ADHD. I don't even know what the point of that was. So, journaling. Yeah, I wanted to journal. I wanted to get all this stuff out, but just got stuck. So I started a YouTube channel somewhat to just kind of be a journal for me. And so it kind of video vlogging, I guess, you know, and it's good. I really enjoyed it. I got my videos out, but I realized real quick that, man, it's a lot of work, all the editing and everything that you got to do. So I quit. Maybe not quit. I just put a pin in it for a while. So I haven't done any videos for quite a while. I just uploaded one of my classes earlier today. So anybody who's been where I've been, if you know what I'm saying, you can go on there and kind of get like a refresher course. It might even fire up some of those old neural pathways and kind of bring you back to the scene, if you know what I mean. But I want to do something, but I'll tell you what, editing, it just takes too much time. I got a lot of things going already, and I don't know if I can do the editing and all that, you know, on a consistent basis. And I know the algorithm likes the consistent basis thing. And why is this thing turning on me? Quit turning on me. It wants to rotate on me. Fushnikins. All right, but anyway, point being, I just want to do more. I want to get more out there. I want to be able to help the people that went through the facility that I went through, but I also want to reach as many people that need help in recovery. Going on 5.5 years now that I've been in recovery. I don't like to use the word sober, because to me, sober sounds like real bad, like, I have to not do this. I got to make sure I don't drink and everything like that. But in recovery, I like to be able to focus on, man, what is this life going to look like? I'm going to make a good life. I'm going to enjoy it. Now that I'm in recovery, I get to do all of these other things. So recovery to me just has a lot better connotation than being sober. And so again, just trying to help my boys, help my girls out there that know me, and anybody who doesn't know me, maybe you'll get to know me if you stick around. So anyway, neural pathways. When I understood this concept, and it's not a concept, but once I understood how neural pathways worked, what they were really all about, that's when it clicked. That's when I realized, oh my gosh, I can change. You see, I struggled with addiction for about 2.5 decades. It's a long time when you say it like that. And there's a lot. I went through all the substances. I'm trying to get a little lighting here so I don't look so bags under the eyes and stuff and such. Hey, look, y'all are getting in on the ground floor of this, so just getting to see the guy on the first day. Oh, I think that's worse. Let's try this. Let me put this over here. I got lights everywhere. I would show you the setup, but it would show how incredibly disorganized I am. You know, I'm not trying to do all that. Okay, look, this hat, I can shine like that. Hey, what's up? What do we got? Who said what's up? Anybody watching from another country? Oh man, that's YouTube's asking that. You don't have to answer that. We play this game a lot. Anybody who knows me and's been in my classes, we call a game. It's a game called What the Heck Was I Just Saying? And so we do, addiction. So struggled with addiction for 2.5 decades. Started with the alcohol and the weed. Obviously those are the gateways. But I went through the gambit of it. I had tried pills, all the pills. I used to be so bad that I would just get to a new house, and this is when I was in the height of my addiction, but I would go to a house of someone that I didn't even know. I would say, can I use the restroom? If I went into the bottom restroom and they didn't have anything in there, I would say, oh, do you mind if you have another restroom? And oh yeah, you can use the master. I'd get to wherever the medicine cabinet was. And whenever I got to the medicine cabinet, I'm going through there, I'm looking at, oh, this label says will cause drowsiness. I'm gonna grab some of these. Oh, this will label. Now that I'm working in the medical field, I realize so many prescriptions say that they could cause drowsiness that don't get you high. But I was taking whatever I could just to catch a little bit of buzz. I remember one time I was at my girlfriend at the time at her grandparents' house for Thanksgiving. And so, of course, I went to the, come on up here, light, let's do this. So I went to her cabinet and I found grandma's Zoloft. Never taken Zoloft before. And I went and found Zoloft. And I took 3 or 4 of them, I don't know. And she probably was on a pretty decent milligram. And I was up for 4 days. Not in a good high, up for 4 days. Not that it's ever good when you're up for 4 days, but you know what I'm talking about. Wasn't anything feeling good. It was and you know, after that I didn't ever take a pill again. Yeah, right. But anyway, so the whole point is, I'm not trying to go down, which I've already gone down the rabbit hole too far. I struggled with the substances, guys. And I had to leave where I was from, because when I was there, I had gone through so many cycles of getting sober. Remember, we just talked about that. Like, I was sober, but I wasn't enjoying life. And so I would get sober, and then I would go around all the people that always saw me messed up and everything, and they'd be like, oh yeah, you're sober. Okay, we'll see how long that lasts. It was just kind of like that attitude of like, you'll never get it together. And the thing is when you're hanging around people that are kind of expecting you to mess up, well, guess what? You will tend to mess up a little bit more often. And so I just had to get away from that environment. So I moved completely across the country, completely started over. Good life now, such a good life. I didn't even know life could get as good as I experienced life. And that's why I work at the clinic that I went to. That is why I am doing this YouTube. That is why anytime I have the opportunity, I will tell my testimony. I'll say what I've been through. And sometimes that means go through all the things that I've been through, and I've got some videos on my testimony, and maybe I'll do a live one day where I just go through my testimony again. But I just know how hopeless it feels when you're stuck in that cycle. You can't get out. And you feel like you are the embodiment of all those bad choices. You're a loser. That was me. I felt like a loser. And but when I went to rehab, I learned about these neural pathways. Let's see. No, it's just not gonna work. Anyway, the neural pathways. And once I understood neural pathways, that's when I realized I can change. I can be a new person. Okay. And of course, neural pathways, as I talk about it, you're going to be like, oh yeah, you mean habits and things like that? Yes. However, learning the science behind it is what made it real, is what made it understandable? That don't sound right. That's what makes it understandable. Once I understood it, that's when I realized I could do something about it. You know, you grow up and your parents say, takes 30 days to make a habit. And you're like, whatever, you just made that up. But the thing is there's science behind it. So neural pathways, anytime that we experience any kind of a thought, if we have an experience, a conversation, anything, we create what's called a neural pathway. A series of neurons fires in the brain, and that creates a pathway. Though that combination of neurons creates a neural pathway for whatever you just did or for whatever conversation you just had. When we first, let me see if I can, let me just pull it over here. I know there's only one person in here. It's okay. Maybe someone will watch it later. You need to figure out how to, well, will it let me turn this way? No. Well, that's not going to help. All right, so the way it was explained to me, I'm moving around a lot. The way it was explained to me best when I was at Honey Lake is that if you pedaled a bicycle through a field of really long grass, and I'm talking about long grass. If you think of a field near your house or something, and you think of that grass not being mowed in 6 months or something, and the grass is 30 inches long, that's what I want you to think about. And you pedaled a bicycle through that. There's a couple of things to point out. If you pedaled a bicycle through that very long grass, the first time you pedal that bicycle through, it's going to be difficult. You're going to be like, pedaling through. It's difficult, okay? If you go back down to that same path the very next day and you pedal through it again, it's still going to be difficult, but it's going to be a little bit easier. So you pedal down that same pathway for the second day, and then you get through on the other side of the field, and what do you see? You don't see like a nice carved out road. You see a slight impression in that long grass. Okay, so it's just barely there. But if we go out on day 3 and we go down that same path, so on and so forth, for up to a week or a month, really a month, you can't really get it less than a month because it takes 30 days to start creating an actual pathway, okay? I know I'm talking about grass right now, but I'm hoping you're understanding that that is the analogy for, it's the same way in our brain. The first time we create a neural pathway, oh, what about this one? First time you go to the gym, is it easy? No, it's difficult. That's why a lot of us don't even start. Never get to the gym, or it's really hard. We make that New Year's resolution every year, and by the second week, I hadn't started yet. I'm just, put it off till next year. It's hard. It's difficult to get through, to create that first neural pathway. But it gets easier and easier each and every time that you repeat that behavior, that thought, that conversation. And that goes both ways. That we're talking about how it affects you in a healthy way, creating this, what I'm going to be talking about, recovery. But on the flip side of that, when you have had thoughts that you're a loser, or you have had thoughts that you, nobody likes you, what's some other ones that we just beat ourselves up with? Anybody in the chat? What's some of those lies that you tell yourself? Anybody? Let's see if we get one. I know it takes a minute for the internet to happen, so. Oh, let's see what, no, it's just the same one, never mind. I'll never amount to anything. Oh, wait, we did get one. Not worth it. Yes. I'm not, man, not worth it. I have no self-worth. And you tell yourself that and you get stuck and you're in there. Let's see what this one is. Not good enough. You got it. Jesus doesn't love me because of my XYZ. Good job. My bad. I got bad eyes, so I got to get up real close. That's it. So when we've had that bad thought and we've thought that thought over and over because of our bad behaviors, because we went out and XYZ'd, we went out and took some pills or whatever, or binge drank all weekend, and you know, and then we start thinking all those negative thoughts again. I'm not worth it. I'm a loser. Okay, so when we've done that for years, think about that bicycle going through the grass. If you go down that same path every day for 10 years, what are you going to have there? Man, it's going to be smooth sailing down that road. I always use the analogy like I had created those neural pathways and made them so strong that I had the highways. I had put down asphalt and concrete. I put all that stuff down. I had created a pathway that as soon as I got upset or anxious or anything like that, I'm going to a substance. I'm going to have to try to figure out how I can PowerPoint this up because it really helps. But I don't think that's today. Maybe I can at least show you the pathway thing. Let me see if I can get it. Oh, it's a great scripture. Those that know me, you know that this is my favorite one. And I think this scripture is talking about neural pathways. Be not conformed to the patterns of this world. I'm a loser. I'm not worth it. Might as well go drink again. Those are the patterns of this world. So we do get conformed to those when we're living in the world, when we're repeating those behaviors. That's how we get conformed to the patterns of this world. Okay? But it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Gotta get some water. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So that means that if I'm creating new neural pathways, I'm transforming, I'm renewing my mind. I know a lot of y'all have heard this scripture, and that scripture to you means probably what you heard the preacher told me. That means read scripture. You read scripture, you start renewing your mind. And yes, I 100% agree with that. However, I really believe that God knew that one day we would understand neural pathways. We would have this understanding of the mind, and that this scripture would just fall right into that for us so that we would realize that, yes, okay, we've gotten off track. We've started some bad habits. We've gotten conformed to the patterns of this world. But never fear, because you can be transformed by renewing your mind. Anybody, real quick, if you haven't, oh, it's just me and you, brother. Me and you, sister. It's all good. I do get to rambling, y'all know that. So, oh, I see the little delay down there. That's funny. All right, where were we? So those pathways, which pathways have you been creating? If you're struggling with addiction, you've created some not so healthy pathways that have gone some not so healthy ways. So there's this thing that they use to refer to the degree that your brain can change. So when we go down the same loop and we're going down that same road over and over and over, our brain kind of gets into that pattern. It's just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. When we're doing that, our neuroplasticity, that's the word of the day, neuroplasticity decreases. So neuroplasticity is our brain's ability to change. And when we've been in those I'm a loser, I'm not worth it thoughts for so long, our neuroplasticity has gotten really low. And we're just like repeat. And so our brain doesn't have much of an ability to say, I don't want to think this way anymore, I want to think this way. But by just doing new things, so whatever you've been doing for this last week, 6 months, whatever it is, if you start doing new things that you haven't been doing, you're going to create new neural pathways, and that's going to increase the neuroplasticity. And when you increase the neuroplasticity, and that allows your brain to not think that way easier. Oh, I'm starting to believe a lie. I don't want to believe that lie. I'm going to go over here and believe the truth. Take every thought captive. Oh, that's loud. I don't know if y'all could hear that. There's a engine brake from a big truck out there. I'm right on a highway. What was I just saying? Oh, take every thought captive. Yeah, sounds great. Sounds great. That's really hard to do when your neuroplasticity is low, when you've just been on repeat. But by going and creating new neural pathways, it makes it easier for you to take every thought captive. So have you done anything new lately, my friend? Have you taken a walk? Anybody who knows me knows I'm all about those walks. Get out there early in the morning. If you're feeling low, you're struggling, wake up tomorrow morning and get outside and get sunlight in your eyes within the first hour of the day after you wake up. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to be up at 6 a.m., not the first hour of the day, but your first hour of the day. That being said, it needs to be before 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock. Because if you get outside past then, you lose the effect that it has if you get out there early. I didn't even realize this until later on, but later on, the more I learned about mental health and the brain, neuroscience and everything like that, the more I understood that one of the main reasons why I felt so good when I left rehab was that I got up every morning and got outside and took a little walk and got some fresh air and I got huge hits of dopamine. That's what was making me feel good. I'm like, man, let me just keep doing this every day. Take that walk. If you're struggling, get up and take a walk tomorrow. You seriously cannot go wrong. Unless it's up there where it's 1 degree. If it's 1 degree where you're at, or if it's any degrees that is only 1 digit, you have a pass for today, for tomorrow. But get out there and start doing it. It will absolutely change the game. So, when we create these new neural pathways, we increase the neuroplasticity. And when that new neuroplasticity that increases, my bad. When the neuroplasticity increases, it then becomes easier for us to become a new person, to no longer struggle with addiction. So these are the two, it's at least going to show these. Neuroplasticity, these are the things I want you to think about. Neuroplasticity, those new neural pathways. And then after we create the new neural pathways, by repeating those new neural pathways in the new routines, oh wow, look, it went all the way out. How do I just make it do that? Can you zoom out? No. I don't know. Oh, maybe we can do the PowerPoint. Haha, look at that. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. So by routine and repetition, by strengthening those new neural pathways, essentially pedaling that bicycle, doing it again, getting up and taking a morning walk tomorrow, and then doing it for the next day, and then doing it the next day, and doing it for a month. It's when those new neural pathways start to get strong, that you've repeated them over and over, that the old neural pathways, the ones that say you're not worth it, you're a loser, Jesus will never love you because, those will start to fade away when you have created new neural pathways that are strong. They have to be strong. You can't go out there and take a walk tomorrow morning and be like, oh man, it didn't work. Those old thought patterns, all of that's going to still be there until you get out there and create new ones. I just realized I overhear me and the only person on my tablet over here. But preach, brother, you are doing good. Preach. Oh, I got somebody else just hopped on. Whoever just hopped on, for the longest time I saw one person in the chat, and I just realized that it was my tablet over here because I have another tablet logged on so that I could read whatever the chats are. It's awesome. But I was preaching to myself and I needed to hear it, you know, because your boy has been missing his walks in the morning. I'm patting my belly, just so you know. Been missing those walks. But let's see. Okay, we're going to see if I can get this PowerPoint up here. Anybody who's been in my classes before, you'll know. But the reason why rehabs work so good is because you're creating new neural pathways, and then you repeat those neural pathways for the whole 30 days that you're in rehab, getting up and going to a process group, and then going to a class, and then doing stretching, or whatever that rehab does. You do whatever it is for at least 30 days, 30 to 40 days. And by doing anything new, those new neural pathways, and then strengthening them for 30 days, doing that with anything, the old will start to fade away. The old neural pathways will start to fade away. All right, I do have this little diagram. Am I going backwards? All right. Trying to get there. Okay. So if this is that path that I was talking about, this is our road to life. Okay. And then we hit something called a trigger. Okay. If you know your triggers, put it in the chat. What's a trigger? My boy, you were in there the whole time. All right, my bad. We hit a trigger. Sometimes that trigger is just, I got off work. Yay, I'm off of work. And because I've gotten off of work and went and drank for the last 20 years, getting off of work is my trigger. Okay? And then some people might have triggers that you kind of think, getting in a fight with the spouse, getting in a car wreck, being late to work, somebody yelling at you, somebody being rude to you, road rage, whatever it happens, some kind of conflict happens, a trigger. And when you have gone to these things for so long, if you probably can't see this, but this is isolation, depression, drinking, drugs, bad relationships, sexual immorality, and making unwise decisions by reacting emotionally. Those were my go-tos when I got triggered. Over the years, it kind of ranged and everything, and the making poor decisions was mixed in with all of them. But I had gone down this path so much, trigger, pedaled the bicycle this way, and I pedaled that bicycle this way for 20 years, and I created, like I talked about earlier, the road, the highway, okay? I created the highway. And so that neural pathway, or those neural pathways that went over there to the depression, sleeping too much, drinking, all of these things, those were strong. The whole point is I'm trying to say those were strong. My neuroplasticity was low. My brain's ability to change was low. But by going to rehab, I started to do new things. One is I started to I forgot. I'm going to get past this. I started to create a new neural pathway. Let me see if I can come on this side. Does it change? Oh yeah, look at that. We're over here now. Ha! All right, cool. I created a new neural pathway. I pedaled that bicycle through that long grass to create a new pathway instead of going to the things that I always did. I didn't really have much choice, because my family said, you're going to rehab or we don't know what else to do, but you got to get out of our life. We can't do this anymore. And I know that was probably the hardest thing for them to ever say, but I'm so glad they said it. And they might have not said those words. So I was in a new environment. I had no choice but to create these new neural pathways. So in class, they would have us journal. So I created a new neural pathway. I didn't realize this was happening while I was doing it. I found this out later. Creating another neural pathway, walking. Did a lot of walking when I was at rehab. Our rehab that I work at is spread out real far, so you always have to be walking here and there. And did a lot of walking. Created this new neural pathway. And again, remember, this whole time, let's see if it'll go over here. This whole time, I'm not using all these neural pathways. Ooh, I almost tripped and made a mess. Let's see, let me get this out of the way. Maybe I can go back and forth. The whole key is, yes, I'm creating new neural pathways, but I'm also not firing up the old neural pathways of drinking and doing all those things. So creating new neural pathways, walking, and then gratitude. We have an alumni community with the rehab that I went to. Mindfulness, practicing all of these things. So this is a representation of those neural pathways at the end of rehab. Okay, they're bigger because I've repeated them every day for 30 days. But this one is still here. It has not gone away. Oh, this one is still here. The highway has not gone away. But with repetition, whatever your new behaviors are going to be, if you can repeat them every day for another month, they're going to get even bigger. If you can repeat them every day for a year, really highly recommend a new routine for a year if you're trying to get away from drugs. At least a year. But if we can repeat those neural pathways for a year, you'll notice these are getting really strong. They're getting wider. It's getting easier to do journaling or mindfulness or whatever it is because I've repeated it so much. Now my brain that thinks that that's what it's supposed to do when it gets triggered. And with enough repetition, this thing will actually start to fade away. It won't fade away until these other ones are strong. They have to be strong. But with enough repetition, these old ones will fade away. Now don't get it twisted. They're still kind of there in the background. They're just not operating. But you go back and start firing up those old neural pathways by drinking and drugging and doing all those things, then you for sure will fire back up that highway. And we'll put more stripes right back down. What are you barking about? Come here, Tobes. I'll tell you what, I got a dog this last year for my girls. And you know, I had dogs growing up, but I had that sexual trauma stuff that happened to me when I was about 9 or 10. And that just kind of threw me, wasn't into like super deep depression and all that, but it just kind of, that happened. And now I had that anxiety and that fear of that happening. And of course that got buried in the back of my mind. And so the whole point was I lost myself a long time ago when I was like 9 or 10 years old. And until I went to rehab, until I went to Honey Lake and actually got some help, myself had been lost that whole time. But anyway, I had some dogs going through the growing up process, and I got close to my dogs. You know, I mean, they were cool. I liked them, but I didn't like really. You know, I see like some people with dogs, and they're like, man, they really love their animal, and I just like have always been kind of like, yeah, it's a dog. However, now that I am a whole self, I am able to be in touch with my emotions and not be controlled by emotions. I now actually understand what it is like to have that really see how precious and incredible the little animals are. And I can see so much more how they can be so beneficial for people that are struggling. All right, where am I at? Pop quiz, what was I just saying? Let's see. Pop quiz. Pop quiz? No, it's okay. All right. The whole point of me saying all this is that it takes repetition. Anybody who's watching this that just got out of rehab, remember, I'm doing these videos. I'm going to try to start doing some lives and do more videos. And I'm doing these mainly to help my people that are leaving Honey Lake. That's the main reason. But I am so down to help anybody who wants to get on board and try to take from and just try to build themselves up to where God has allowed me to build myself up to. The strength and the confidence. Man, my confidence was shot, y'all. My very first meeting I went to at the rehab, I could not even look at anybody in the eye. It's probably loud. I'll try to talk a little lower. I couldn't look anybody in the eye. I went into the conference room and just in there, just a shell of a man, and they asked me if I wanted to share, and I said, sure, I'll share. And I wept as I talked about all of those crappy old neural pathways that I had built and created and how much of a loser I thought I was and all that. Head down the whole time. By the end of me talking, I was able to kind of lift up my eyes and look at around the room. But that's how low my confidence was. Could not even look people in the eye. And now telling that story, people can't even believe it. I get up and teach classes, like 4 or 5 a week. It's amazing. I'm so blessed. My life is so good. It doesn't mean I don't have crappy things. Excuse my language. You'll have to get to know that I am in recovery for a lot of things, but every once in a while, crappy comes out. Hopefully not the ish word, but it does happen. But I do not feel like God is condemning me for little accident mess ups. I try to always be like, all right, Lord, I apologize if I lose it and say something like that. But we're not into judging over here in this community. We're not into, oh, this person did this, you shouldn't do that. No. We are all gonna be, always will be, all about let's keep going in the right direction. And we're not going to be throwing shade or making anybody feel bad for anything. So you can also try to make me feel bad, but I promise you it won't work. Because I no longer get my self-worth from. So because that self-worth was so low for so many years, my worth, the worth that I did have, was found in other people giving me compliments. So my self-worth was dependent on someone else saying, you're cool, you're funny, I like that. That's where my confidence was found. And so the problem with that is, not everybody's gonna like you. I didn't comprehend that though. Like I really had to have people like me. Why didn't he like me? Like the George Costanza episode on Seinfeld where he's, I gotta have her like me. She's gotta like me. And like, that was me. And because of that, I was often disappointed because not everybody's gonna like you. And not sorry, but kind of did let's see. Not everybody's gonna like you. And so I was a chameleon. I always almost say chameleonaire, like the rapper, but chameleon. I was always a chameleon. I was this way around this person because if I act this way around this person, they're gonna like me. They're gonna think I'm cool. And if I'm over here around these people and I'm funny and everything like that, then I'm going to get validation from that. And so not only did I have low or no self-worth, I also was identity. I didn't have any identity. Identity. It's just one of those words that, you know, sometimes it's like roads. Any old school Chris Farley fans will know what I'm talking about on that one. Black Sheep, I believe. Okay, real quick, I'll tell the story, because what else are we going to do? I'll try to get back to the point. Chris Farley and David Spade are driving across country in this movie, and they end up having to get this car where the guy has a big nitrous tank in the back, and somehow they stole it, or they got the car to be able to drive. And as they're driving, they go over a pothole and the hose pops off, and so it's just pouring the nitrous into the car, and so they're getting high. Okay, and basically a car that is one big whippet, if anybody knows what whippets are. And so when they get to wherever they're going, they're laughing. And I think it's David Spade, and he said, you know those words that, like, he's like, road. He was talking about roads, and he was like, road. That doesn't sound right. He's like, that's not right. Anyway, that was too much of a side trail. All right. Identity. I didn't have any identity. My identity was a little bit of this when I'm around these people, and a little bit of this when I'm around these people, and no self-worth in any of it. Which is why I felt so empty and bleh inside. So that's when I started numbing, drinking a little bit, smoking a little bit. And then I have an addictive personality. So anything I try, I'm going to do a lot of it eventually, if not right away. So my identity ended up being the guy who gets messed up. That was pretty much me. I'm the guy at the party that is going to bring more drugs or whatever it is, more alcohol, whatever it is. I'm bringing the most. I'm doing the most. And I did the stuff so much that I didn't even really get wasted all that often. I was self-medicating. Oh, wow. It followed me down here. At least you can't see how dirty the floor is. It's not that dirty. There, I'm gonna show you real quick. Just, my wife's probably gonna kill me. See, the house is not bad, just so you know. I will say this though, look at this setup that I had to do trying to get, let's see. I got a ring light on the couch right there. Trying to mess with this gimbal. I got a ring light on the ottoman right there, and then look at this chair right here. Look at the chair that I have balanced on the back of the couch that is holding the gimbal, and I have to have a pillow right there holding this. Anyway, it's a mess. But y'all who know me know that I'm a mess and I got it together all at the same time. And it's a great place to be, I'll be honest. Oh no! There we go. It's a great place to be. I'm a mess. Like, I no longer, now that I've found myself, now that I know what my values are, I know what I need to do so that I feel like a complete person, a whole person. A person of value. For me, I know what I need to do to feel like that. And I'm not talking about just selfish and just feeling good, but because I personally, and not everybody is, but I really want to help other people that are where I was. If anybody knows me, you were also where I was. And so my heart is in that. And so for me, I need to be doing something in that line for me to feel my best, which is why I'm kind of doing these lives up again. Not that I was feeling low, but I wanted to give more. I wanted to do a little bit more, and I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't know what that is. So we're going to go for this. We'll see what happens. I am under no delusion of thinking that I'm going to make a bunch of money with this kind of content on this platform. So it ain't for the money, honey. It is not for the money. It is because I want you guys to be able to experience life the way that I experience it. It's so good. And if I can just help one person to find half of what I've found, then it'll be worth it. But I know that God is using us, and I'm saying us, plural, because he uses us to reach so many more people than you could ever imagine. You know, you have I don't know if y'all are like this. I've always been kind of a sucker to give the homeless guys money. Sometimes it's probably not a bad thing, but a lot of times I probably give them like a 20 instead of a 5, and that 20 is probably enough. So many times have I given the guy the money and he packs up his sign and he's out of there. Not trying to give myself props. Why did I start telling you this then? Oh, because we will do something like that for somebody and we'll help them and we'll say, hey man, or you'll get them a burger or something like that, and you never see them again. Off into the wind. And so it's real easy to with those kind of interactions, or maybe you help somebody else and you never see them again, or you try to encourage somebody, or you're doing God's work. You're out there blessing people. And it's real easy to kind of get discouraged, I guess, and feel like you're not doing anything. But God will water those seeds, and you will be a part of changing someone's life if you are willing for God to let God use you. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So the way that we can help defeat in someone else, someone that's struggling with mental health, they're struggling with addiction, they're struggling with depression, all of that, one of the best things that we can do is pray for them. That's one, and that's for the blood of the Lamb to cover them. And then the second thing, which is right there in the same sentence, he didn't say we overcome by the blood of the Lamb, and then if you don't have any other options, I guess give your testimony. He put it on the same level. I heard a pastor talk about this and it just blew my mind. But the word of our testimony is right there with the blood of the Lamb. Obviously, I do not think that our is stronger or as strong as the blood of the Lamb. But it's up there. It's definitely up there. And so by just telling your story, you know how many Christians are out there just hurting so bad and they don't get help? Because we grew up in church and going and getting help admits that you're broken and Jesus can't fix you. I'm not saying that's how I felt the church was when I was growing up. I even with for instance with ADHD, was told I have the ADHD when I was young. No, that's not a real thing. That's just something that people use to drug up other people. And I'm glad I didn't go the route of getting medicated on stimulants, because with my addictive personality, it could have taken me, I might have just kept on doing it and never got help. That's why I'm happy that my life fell apart. I'm not, people, oh, I'm sorry that you had to go to rehab. I'm not. You kidding me? I'm so glad that it fell apart to the degree that it fell apart, because that's when I was like, okay, I'll get help. There's a scripture that says, fall on the rock, lest the rock fall on you. And I was not falling on the rock. I was not falling on God. I was falling on my own works. I got this. I'll do it. Me. And God protected me all those years while I was out in the world just serving myself. But at the end, he knew I was about to kill myself. I did. I overdosed. Overdosed a week before I went to rehab and died. They had to use fentanyl twice. I consider if you didn't get revived after the first fentanyl, then you're technically dead. So I was brought back. God was watching out for me. Does anybody remember what I was saying? Dang. Get to preaching and forget what I was saying. Dang. Oh, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. I think that went too far. Hey, do you remember what I was saying? God can use you to change the world. Not only can He wants/needs us. He doesn't need us. We know that God could snap His fingers and make it all go. He could do Thanos. Thanos ain't got nothing on God. So if God wanted to, He could snap His fingers and everything would change. But He chooses to need us. He says, you know what? I want to use my bride to change the world. I want to use... Oh, I just got a text from the wife. Oh no. We almost lost the chair. He just wants to use you guys. There's so many people out there hurting. They need to know it's okay to get help. It's okay to get help. When you grow up in the church, like I was saying, you feel like you're saying, Jesus, you're not working, Jesus. I gotta get some help. I gotta go to therapy, Lord. That's what, at least me growing up in the church, that's what I felt like the attitude toward therapy was. And dang sure I felt that way about meds. Like psych meds or anything that you have to take to kind of get your brain balanced. That was definitely like off the list if you're a Christian and growing up in the church. Aaron, you remember what I was saying a second ago? I mean, it's all around the same stuff, but I feel like I was coming back to a point that I never hammered home. If you are willing to share your story, does not mean you have to do what I'm doing now. You do not have to be as transparent and say all the things that you've been through. You don't have to talk about your sexual trauma. You don't have to talk about overdosing or anything like that. But I'll say this, the more that you're willing to talk about, the more opportunity God has to send somebody into your life that needs to hear that story. Because if you only talk about, hey, I was having a hard time and I went and got some help and I got better, that's still good. That is the testimony. But if you're willing to say that you struggle with alcohol, now God can send someone that's struggling with alcohol into your life. And because you've been there and you've actually climbed your way out and you figured out how to live in recovery, they're going to listen to you more. It's real easy to hear people just, therapists and stuff like that tell you, it's real easy to hear that and be like, you don't know. You have a degree. You don't know what it's like to struggle with addiction for 25 years. I struggled with addiction longer than you've been alive. It's easy to just discount them. But if you hear it from someone who's been through it, get your attention. I remember when I showed up at Honey Lake, I showed up in a rough way, guys. I'll tell you. I overdosed a week before, drank and smoked, all just trying to get out of the overdose. And I mean, by the time I rolled into Honey Lake, I was high as a kite. Oh, this is this is a funny story. So when I overdosed, my family was like, you're getting help. And I had the audacity to say, no, I don't need help. I got this. No, I'm doing really good. They said, no, listen, we can't keep doing this. You're getting help, or we don't know what else to do, but we can't keep doing this. My parents would never say, you got to get out, but they would have pretty much had to remove themselves from my life. Because I was dragging them through it, guys, and they were getting older, and I'm adding years to their life. So they're like, you're getting help. I'm like, fine, I'll get help. Maybe there's some therapists locally, and they're like, no, you're getting help. And I'm not going to a rehab. And they're like, we're going to find you one. They found one in Florida. I was living in Texas at the time, and Florida was my favorite place to visit. Went there 2-3 times a year on vacation. And so they said, we found a rehab in Florida, and it's on the beach. And I was like, what? On the beach? Huh. Yeah, I mean, sure, I guess I'll go. They said also, they give you massages every day. I was like, yeah, massages every day? Okay, now we're talking. And actually, it's in the swamp. Now, it's a very nice property. It's the most beautiful place. I actually thought I was dead. I actually thought that I did overdose. And when I got to Honey Lake, it was heaven. Like, that's what I thought. It was just so pretty. So it's very beautiful. However, it is kind of in the middle of the swamp outside of Tallahassee. And we flew in. My dad, he needed to drive me there. So he flew with me and drove me up to the gate. But I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. When we flew into Tallahassee, I said, what beach is close to Tallahassee? He said, well, we kind of fibbed to you. It's not on the beach, but we had to do something. You weren't getting on board with it. It's not on the beach, but it's a really nice place. And I was like, man. And he's like, just so you don't get upset later on, they also don't give you massages every day. They give you once a week. I'm like, what? So I was salty. I was upset. Man, parents lied to me. Don't even want to be at this stupid rehab anyway. Blah, 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 blah. So the whole point is I came in with a bad attitude. Now, I came smack dab in the middle of COVID. So when I arrived, I didn't know this part either. But I went through the intake, asked me about a couple hundred questions, maybe 50 questions. But they asked me, trying to get a background on me so they can best help me. It took about an hour and a half or whatever. And so I came out of the back room and I was just feeling anxious. I'm coming down off the weed and the alcohol and just kind of feeling like crap. And so I go up to the front desk and ask the nurse, I said, hey, where's the gym? I'm feeling, if I go to the gym, I can get some of this anxiety out. And they were like, oh, you can't go to the gym. You have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And I was like, whoa. Nobody even said anything about this quarantine. Quarantine? Okay, I know how this COVID thing works. Let me go to the pool. The pool is outside, right? I'm not gonna get COVID I'm going to go to the pool. And they were like, you're not going to go to the pool. You have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? And they were like, you have to stay this side of the stables. So Honey Lake's beautiful, has stables, horse, equine program, everything like that. But the stables were like 100 feet from where I was staying. And so I kind of drew a line from that stables across the property, and I kind of said, well, can I walk around? It's a big property, so there was like a pond and stuff and like that. And I said, can I walk kind of around the pond and just stay this side of the stables, but just way out there? I could do that, right? And they're like, no, you can't do that. And so feeling like I'm being lied to as I show up, didn't realize about quarantine, can't do anything, can't get out, can't do anything. I was like, I can't do this. I was also taking a lot of Klonopin at the time, 8 milligrams a day. And so I went around to the nurse's station and I said, hey, can I get one of those Klonopins? I can't go to the gym. Let me get one of the Klonopins at least, please. And they said, not till you see the doctor. And now I was like, no. I was a no. And so now I'm calling Dad. Hey, you got to come pick me up. This is not what we talked about. You got to come get me. No, I can't do that, son. No, Dad, this is not what, I can't even go to the pool. I can't go to the gym. I'm not doing this. This is not what we talked about. Come back. I can't do that, son. I heard my dad cry. My dad is not much of a crier. He's just from that kind of, his dad was from the silent generation. He's he's a boomer. So just still kind of was like not as in touch with emotions and stuff like that. And so I didn't really ever see him cry. But I heard him cry as he was telling me no. That's how he wanted to come save me, rescue me, to be there for me. He wanted to come be there for me. I'm so glad he didn't. Right after that, I start pacing. I'm like, you know what? I can just go down the road. I can make it. I'm a survivor. I've been surviving on the streets for a long time. I'm just going to go down the road. Call an Uber, whatever, start a new life in Tallahassee. Right around that time, contemplating and planning my escape, I get a hand on the shoulder. Hey. And it was like a raspy voice, and it got my attention, kind of snapped me out of like where I was at. I said, oh, hey, what's up? There's a girl. She's short, probably right here on me. A lot of tattoos. I have a lot of tattoos. They're all on my legs and everything like that. But in that moment, the raspy voice kind of got my attention. And then I noticed all the tattoos. And I'm like, well, she cool. We got that in common. Okay, she's cool. Then she smiled, and she didn't have a whole lot of teeth. You could tell she definitely lost a few of her teeth due to drug use. So then that kind of got my attention. I was like, oh, okay, so she's a fellow drugger. And she reaches out her hand, and she says, I'm Mad Dog Mary. Mad Dog Mary, what? Who introduces themselves with an adjective like that? I'd never, but it got my attention. And it really, that is how she introduced herself to everybody. It was awesome. I love it. She's such an awesome lady. And I've talked to her, and she said, please, you tell my story. You tell that story to the world if you can. So here we go. And she said, when I shook her hand, I noticed she had some track marks. And so then even more, now I'm like, not only is she a drugger and all that, she's probably even had it worse than you, Matthew. You haven't seen your kids and all this stuff, and you've lost your life a couple of times, physically and emotionally with your family and everything like that. But this girl, she probably had it worse than you. So she started talking, and she had my full attention. The whole point was she had my full attention. And she said, "Hey, I get it. I got here a couple days ago, and I did not want to be here either, but you should stick around. It's really not that bad." And I'm serious. I was about to go down the road, and she said, "Stick around. It's not that bad." She said, "Just come to a class, see how you like it." I said, "Fine, whatever. I guess I'll go to the class." And I went in class just like I told you earlier. Poured into the seat. Couldn't look anybody in the eyes. And they got around to me. They were sharing stories, and they came around to me and they said, "Hey, you just got here. What's your name, Matthew? You just got here. Would you like to share what got you here?" I said, "Sure, whatever." But I had my head down. I guess. Well, it started back when I was 9, 10, and some sexual stuff happened with an older boy in the church, and that really threw me into depression, and even at a young age. And then when I found alcohol, that kind of made me feel a little better out of the depression and gave me a little bit of confidence back. And then struggle, and I told all my story, but I told it in such a way of defeat. I wasn't like, "Yeah, I struggle with addiction." I was like, "I just can't ever get off of it. I'm such a loser. I run out." I had my 8 milligrams of Klonopin, 120 milligrams of Adderall every day was what I was prescribed. And I ran out week early at least every time. So I was taking more. I was killing myself. I was living suicidally. Maybe not the whole 25 years, but the time right before I got to Honey Lake, my first wife had stopped letting me see my kids in the middle of COVID, and I couldn't go see them. And they were really, you want to talk about, I told you earlier that I'd lost my identity. When my kids were born, that was my identity, was being a dad. I always wanted to be a dad when I was growing up. When my kids were born, I had identity. I love these kids. I'll do anything for them. And I did everything for them, except I couldn't get off the substances. And I wasn't on them when I was around them. Very rarely, every once in a while, I might have been drinking around them, but I really tried to keep that away from them. But man, I'm down so many rabbit holes. I don't even remember where I'm going with this. That was where my identity was, and about a few months before I went to rehab, before I overdosed, she had stopped letting me see my kids. It was COVID. She knows I've had a lot of run-in with the police. I was actually going to court at the time with the police department that would have enforced my child visitation. And she knew I wasn't going to call the police. And it was COVID. And so I couldn't see my kids. I just stopped being able to see my kids. And there was this history throughout my relationship with her and with the kids, is that she would remove the kids from my life. I'm not really sure what her motive and stuff behind it was, but I think the enemy was using her motive and stuff like that to destroy me. Because when those kids got removed from my life, I lost it. And so I would be doing really good and kind of holding it together and not being on the substances and doing better. And then whenever I started doing good, the enemy would get in her head and have her remove the kids from my life. And I would just fall apart right back into the addictions, way worse. And so that happened during COVID. Got my kids removed from my life again. And I lost it. I didn't care. I was living as if I just didn't need to be here. Suicidally. Oh crap, I forgot I'm not supposed to say that on YouTube. My bad. Well, I'm not getting monetized. It's okay. I guess I can say that then. I hope it doesn't get flagged. It might get flagged. Maybe they'll let me beep it out. Okay, I'm sorry. Not sorry. I told that story from such a place of defeat. We're back to the classroom again. And I wept the whole time I was telling that story. And afterward, I got up and I looked around the room and they said, their eyes were super huge. They were like, whoa, who is this guy? He just got here? And he's like breaking down, crying and stuff. And I found out later, they told me that a few of them had been there a week and a half, and they were just kind of there to go through like their jail. I got to do 30 days here and then I'm going home. But God was able to use my willingness to share to help all of those people. And I'll tell you why. Because after they saw me like having, and I was, the Holy Spirit was working on me, and I was having a breakthrough spiritually. And I was getting stuff off my chest that I'd never told a lot of people. Like, nobody knew everything. And now I'm telling these perfect strangers everything. And so a lot of them said, you know, before you came to that class, we were just kind of going through the motions, trying to get our 30 days out. But after that, we realized, man, I need to talk to my therapist. I need to go deeper. And so they started going deeper. So there's two things, the reason why I tell those stories. One is that Mary, Mad Dog Mary, when she was saying, stick around, it's not that bad. I got here a few days ago too. Didn't want to be here. But stick around, it's not that bad. That was her testimony at the time. Was there, stuck it out, now here, not that bad. It wasn't like, my life's been changed forever. But by her being willing to come talk to me and say, hey, I was also struggling when I got here. That word of her testimony changed my life, because I would reach out to Mary a lot after leaving, because we got real close and we stayed close, and that also was a big factor of why we all had successful relationships, because we stayed really close and we were calling I'd call 4 or 5 people a day from my old life was gone when I left rehab. I had to start a new life, so I'm calling people and everything like that. So I call Mary. I call Mad Dog Mary. I say, hey, Mary, what's going on? And we would have our conversation. And she would just kind of like, if she was struggling or whatever, and she'd say, thank you, brother. Thanks for the talk. I feel better now. And I say, Mary? She'd say something like, I don't know what I would do without you. And I say, Mary, let me tell you what I would have done without you. I would have ran down that road, or I would have walked down that road, or I would have left, and I would have got Baker acted. And I don't know, if you're in Texas, you may not know what Baker acting is, but over here in Florida, if you're kind of acting crazy, they do what's called a Baker Act. It's not basically like calling the cops, but where you're not going to jail. But they'll take you to a mental facility, a mental health facility, and they're not nice. They're not like rehabs where they're all nice buildings and activities and stuff. It's basically jail for a bunch of mentally unhealthy people that are struggling with psychosis and stuff like that. It's not a great place to be. Matter of fact, a lot of the people that come to Honey Lake have more trauma from the other places they've been than the actual traumas that they had to deal with from when they were young. Man, I'm so far down these rabbit holes. Hold on. I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back home. I just need help. What was I saying? What was I saying? Give me anything. Anything? Aaron, pop quiz, everybody. All right. So, Mad Dog Mary, help. Anyway, two things. Mad Dog Mary helped change me. Does anybody remember where I was? Oh, okay. By her telling me, stick around, it's not that bad. That was the testimony that changed me. And then my willingness to talk about what I'd been through helped change all the rest of the other people that were in that class that day. Our testimony is so powerful, guys. And you do not have to wait until you're all put back together real clean before you share your testimony. That's the reason why I tell that one. Because I was in... Let me get this light over here. I realize it's been kind of... I was in the worst place of my life when I shared that testimony. And God used it to change the rest of these people and the trajectory that they were going in. They were about to get out of rehab and not even have gotten that much out of it because they were going to treat it like jail. So don't feel like, oh, maybe one day when I'm not depressed anymore, maybe one day when I'm not struggling anymore, then I'll tell my story. No! Be willing to tell your story now. And again, for people that are just hopping on, I'm not saying you have to tell all the things you've been through. You don't have to talk about your traumas or your addictions. But be willing to say, yeah, I was depressed. I was anxious. Struggling. But you know what? I got some help. I went to therapy. I went to rehab. Christians need to know it's okay to go to rehab. I was actually talking to someone not too long ago. And we were taking a walk around the pond. And they said, you know, Matthew, I hear your story. And you have this great testimony. They said, it's just so awesome that God's done all the things he's done for you and brought you so far. He said, but I don't have a story like that. Nothing major has happened to me. I shouldn't even have depression. I've done everything kind of the way that I'm supposed to do. I don't even know why I deal with the anxiety and stuff. I said, man, your story needs to be told more than my story. And I'll tell you why. Because your story doesn't get told that much because people think my story is not worth telling. I don't have anything major that happened. I've just gotten to a stage of my life and I got depressed. So my story's not worth telling. It's not going to help anybody. So because that story's never been told of the person that just went about life and when they turned 50 or 60, they just got depressed, or 40 or 30, and it's just popped up out of nowhere, because nobody tells that story, those people that are out there have not heard a testimony from someone who has just been doing life and all of a sudden got depressed and then they got help. So there's thousands, millions of people out there that are going through life and they're kind of depressed. And it's not like bad and they're not struggling with addiction or everything. So they're just plugging through along on life, just being depressed, not living life and life more abundantly, struggling. So if you're one of those people, please share your story. Someone who's had the regular life and turned 40 and now they're depressed, someone else that is struggling with that very same thing needs to hear from the guy that says that, and I got help. Because when he hears that, he'll go get help, or he'll be a lot more likely to get help. God chooses to need us. He chooses to use us to usher in the kingdom of heaven onto earth. And aside from prayer, There's not much else we can bring to the table except for the word of our testimony. When it comes to overcoming darkness in people that are struggling with depression. If you want to help someone with depression or addiction, or someone that is in extreme anxiety and they're in that place and you want to help overcome the darkness that has grown into them, the word of our testimony, the blood of the Lamb, which God provides and is always available, and the word of our testimony. God uses us, our story. That's all the Bible is. All the Bible is a collection of everybody's, what they've been through. Moses went through all that stuff. He said, you know what? I should write this stuff down. It's pretty good. Some crazy stuff has happened to me. But I often think I want to make a book. Don't steal my idea now. I want to make a book and I want to call it the Third Testament. But the only reason why I haven't thought about it because I don't want to be like sacrilegious and I don't, it'll be a whole thing. So really I probably won't. So if you want to run with it, run with it. But I wanted to do a collection of modern testimonies, what people have been through. It's just as relevant, guys, if not more relevant. Because the Bible stories are great, but as you know, sometimes they're hard to relate to those characters. Sometimes it's hard to relate to. That's why I really like The Chosen. If you haven't watched The Chosen, you are missing out. Highly recommend. It's free on every single platform, so you can watch it for free right now. I don't know if YouTube has it for free, but The Chosen gives the characters humanity. It shows Peter as someone who's gambling and fighting and stuff at the beginning, and you see that transformation. So it's a little easier to like, oh yeah, I'm kind of like Peter there. And it's when before I watched that show and got that other perspective, I couldn't relate to Peter. Like Peter seemed like this guy who's pretty much got it together. He's messed up a few times, but then when they gave that humanity to that character, I was able to so much more be like, oh yeah. And you will cry every episode when you watch The Chosen. And the best of tears, I promise. But I know that's a show. So but it's just an example of how important you telling what you've been through. I don't know how I got from neural pathways to testimony, but I think this is what needed to be said. I hope someone you guys all have an amazing story. And like I said, even if it is quote unquote a dull story, there are millions of people with a quote unquote dull story that are depressed and anxious, and some of them are thinking about taking their own life. And a lot of them, and some of them have been to church and they grew up in church. And so some of them have that stigma of, well, if I go to therapy, I'm basically saying God can't do it. That's what we need to do to break that mold. God needs us to bust through all the lies that the enemy has gotten into the church. You got to understand, the enemy has limited resources. He is not omniscient. As a matter of fact, there's 2 angels for every one of his little demons. And oh man, I gotta see where I'm going now. If anybody remembers where I was going with that, please let me know in the chat while it's just Dear Lord Jesus, what was I saying? Anybody? Let's see. Oh, so many people grew up in the church, and so many of those people think that if they go to therapy, they're saying God can't do it. Those people need to know it's okay. Oh, that's what we need to bust through. The enemy, I'm back to it. He has limited resources. We do that a lot also. We figure it out. The enemy has limited resources. And so when there wasn't a whole bunch of people on the earth, it was probably a little easier for him to spread the things around. But these days, I believe there's 3 places that he tries to put his forces on more than anywhere else. A couple of them are pretty obvious. Hollywood, I believe. Because if he can get in there and like mess with those actors and the way that they think and everything, then they'll influence millions of people to think the same way. They're called influencers. They influence people to believe the same way that they believe. Hollywood, the news. Tell me the devil ain't all over the news. I mean, can anybody watch the news and not feel terribly gross afterward? Does anybody ever watch the news and they're like, oh, that was good? Put it in the chat if you watch the news and you go, good show. Or put it in the chat if you're like, oh yeah, that ain't no good news in the news. And then the third place that I think the enemy puts his resources is the church. It's the church. Getting to divide the church. How many people have been a part of a church split? That's what happened that sent me. I didn't send me, but like that was right there, the catalyst that was the beginning of my addictions. Because when that church split happened, I kind of was like, man, all these things that I thought I was believing in are bad, or they're not real. I put way too much weight in the pastor and those people, and when they did something that was kind of less than, they just did some funky stuff, and that's why a church splits. And so church split, so they divide. That throws people and their beliefs all off. Think about all of the different denominations. Do you know what denominations means? To divide. Denomination is the divider. It literally says that in the word that we go around saying, what denomination are you part of? What division? Now tell me that ain't the enemy getting in there and doing what he does. And then also making us, getting in there and getting in the people that kind of set the rules, getting in their head and saying, oh, go into therapy. That's you're saying that Jesus can't do it if you go to therapy. And so if he can influence the head of the church into thinking this way, what does that do? It trickles down and it deceives millions of people in time. And so most of us that are around my age remember that growing up and you didn't go to therapy. And I'm 44. So just so if you're around my age, just if you were wondering. I have these brain farts time to time, guys. It's the ADHD. Don't mind me. Oh, dear Lord. What was I talking about? Hold on, what's it say? Hope you're... If he can make us think that going to... here's another one that I think, another lie that I think the enemy got in there is meditation. Now, I'm not talking about chanting and like, there is some evil types of things that can be correlated with meditation. But the Bible talks about meditation. It talks about slowing down. Lamentations 3:24, 26, somewhere in there. It says, it is good to be still underneath the weight of the Lord. Something like that. But he's telling you, be still. And that's what meditation is being still and paying attention to the present moment. But growing up in the church, you hear that word, especially if you're around my age, and you think New Age, that's New Age stuff right there. I'm not touching that. So he's convinced millions of Christians that taking time to stop and take a deep breath is evil. That's New Age. And not everybody's is under that same influence. But I know there is a lot of people that are. I know I was. I know there's another one, stretching. They call it yoga. Now, of course, there is yoga and there's a whole religion around yoga. I'm not talking about that yoga. I'm talking about stretching. But because of the way that it is so helpful to stretch every day, 20, 30 minutes, 10 minutes. That right there alone will change the way that your life goes. Now, probably not alone, but it will help a lot. The stretching. I remember when I went to rehab at Honey Lake, they changed it now. Now they no longer call it yoga. They just call it stretch flow, which I think is more appropriate. But when I was there, they called it yoga. And 3 times a week during class, they did like a 30-minute long stretch. Obviously, it's a Christian facility. They definitely did not go into the Eastern mysticism type yoga. None of that. Just stretching. That's all it was. But when I was there, I was like, I'm not doing that. No way, you're not getting me on that. I don't even know how they're doing this in a Christian facility. So I didn't do it. But after I had been out about 9 months, so let me tell you real quick how this went for me. And anybody who's still in here probably already knows, but when I came to rehab, I had a great spiritual experience and everything. However, and this is the main reason why I work there now, is because I did not start a good routine while I was there. I didn't start breathing. I didn't start stretching. I didn't exercise. I didn't do any of that stuff when I was there. I went to all the classes and I cried and I had great spiritual experiences. And when I left, I was a changed person. And so were all the people that were in the group with me. There's about 10 or 12 of us that were really close, and we did the same activities, went and played volleyball at the same time. Everything was the same. And I got out, as I told y'all earlier, when I got out, I realized that if I went back to Texas, that would be a death sentence and I would for sure die the next time that I overdosed. So I decided to move to Florida. And so this goes to this is a callback to what I was actually trying to teach almost an hour ago. Because I went to Florida and I'd never been in that city, and everything I did was creating a new neural pathway. When I got up, everything was a new neural pathway. So just living, I'm creating all these new neural pathways. My neuroplasticity is increasing. It's getting easier and easier every single day for me to go, I'm this new guy. I've got confidence now. I have my self-worth. It was easy for me because I was in a brand new, like, blank canvas. And everything I did was new neural pathway, new neural pathway. But a lot of the people that I was in the program with did the same thing as me, didn't start a good routine, didn't do all that stuff, and they went back to the same environments. And since they went back to the same environments, I gotta make sure I don't miss class. Since they went back into the same environments, they were around the same things, same people, same conversations, and so they started fallen back into this neural pathway, those neural pathways that had been in there a long time. So they struggled. All of them are okay today. If anybody's on here, y'all my fam. All of them are okay today, but a lot of them struggled a lot more, way more than I did. And that's why I wanted to come work here, so I could like really hammer this home for people. Like, if you're going back to the same environment, you more than anybody need to have a good plan. And like, this morning I'm going to go do this new thing, and you need to have it planned out to where you are creating as many new neural pathways as possible, increasing that neuroplasticity. Because you go into rehab feeling like a loser and no worth, and then you're getting built up and you're creating all these new neural pathways, and so your brain starts changing around the 30-day mark, and it starts going, maybe I'm not a piece of poo. Maybe do have value. It starts changing. But when you go back into that same environment, you go back into that old house, you go back into all that stuff, your brain just goes, wait, I guess I'm back over here doing this again. I'm not doing good. I'm struggling. So that's why I tell my people, when they go home, make as much change as possible. For me, that was a new city state. I had to have it. I had been in all those towns that I grew up in, and drugs and alcohol and partying and all that stuff was just a part of everywhere I lived. So anywhere I went, it was like, oh, maybe I could get high or whatever. So brand new city and state for me. Some people, that's too much. You got kids and stuff like that. Some people might need to move across the city. Maybe a town over 20 minutes away. Maybe some people are in an apartment complex, but they could switch to another apartment. That's a fresh environment. Maybe if you're going back to the same house, maybe a different room in the house for a little while. It's not forever, but if you go back into the exact same environment and start going through the same motions that you were doing before you went to rehab, then your brain is going to be like, oh, I guess we're playing that game. Because listen, here your brain, it finds patterns to save energy, because your mind takes more energy than anything else in your body. And so your mind, it figures a way to go on autopilot so it can conserve energy, which is why our brains kind of do that. And it's easier to do. Dang, dude, I'm just ADHDing it all over the place. Save energy. So it does that. It's looking for patterns. It's looking for that. So if you just go back home and you start waking up at 10 o'clock like you did before you went to rehab, and you go downstairs and you flop into your chair and you turn on your phone and you start doing all the same stuff that you were doing before you went to rehab, there's a real good chance that you're going to slip back into that really quickly. Feeling depressed again, feeling anxious. And then you're going to tell yourself, oh, it didn't work. Well, If you're telling yourself that, analyze what you're doing. What am I doing differently? How am I switching it up? Or am I right back into the same patterns and the same routines that I was trying to get away from? So make change. Figure out what you can change, what you can make better. Got to do the work, guys. I think that's another thing that kind of was a lie that got through in the church for me, is that it's almost like this attitude of like, I'll just pray it and I don't have to do any work. I'll just pray. God will do this. And God is capable of doing all things. But He needs us, He wants to need us to do some work, put in some work on it. Because it's putting in that work that builds the character. You know the scripture, we rejoice in our persecutions because in our persecutions produce perseverance, and our perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. Well, doing the work is kind of like a voluntary persecution. You're like, okay, I'm going to, like, because you probably don't want to get up and take a walk every morning and go to the gym and do all the things that you know you need to do. So that's work. That's a persecution. That's something you're putting yourself through. It's not comfortable. But that's what builds character. Hey, I think this was cool. I think I'll do it more often. If you're not, sub the channel. I'm probably gonna, and if you want to, I uploaded my class from yesterday, and it's pretty good. Like, not what I say. I think God does a pretty good job of getting through all my ADHD and my mumbling and all the stuff that I do wrong. God is so good to make it right. But that video is about managing expectations. I'll give you a little clip onto it. We put ourselves through unnecessary suffering. There's all kinds of suffering that we're going to deal with in the world. We're going to deal with losing a family member when they die. Sorry, I got to get a little bit of water. Not sorry. Losing family members, losing jobs, those things suck. That's a bit of suffering. But there's a suffering that we put ourselves through for no reason. And that's the suffering that comes from unmet expectations. When we have an unmet expectation, it opens the door. First thing is disappointment. Have that disappointment, that starts opening the door for cognitive distortions. If you don't know where all this stuff is, sub the channel. I'm going to have a lot more classes coming out soon. You can go watch my old videos, but quite honestly, I think I would just wait around until the new ones are going to come out, because they're going to be a lot more cohesive. I know this talk was all over the place and I left loose ends everywhere, so my apologies on that. But I have PowerPoints for my classes that kind of help keep me on track so that all the points get made. So, but the suffering that comes from unmet expectations is totally avoidable. It's totally avoidable. I don't know what percentage of your suffering comes from unmet expectations. Mine, going into Honey Lake, was nearly like probably 80 to 90% of the suffering that I was dealing with was unmet expectations, because I had built up this perfect, what I should be, and I'm not that. So I was always disappointed with myself because I'm not the man of God. I'm not a Christian like I should be. I'm not any of those things. Now, this is how I was thinking before going into Honey Lake. So once I got that in order and started managing those expectations, that's when my life just radically changed. My confidence grew, everything. Because I no longer, you hear the phrase radical acceptance. It's a great phrase. It's what we should all strive for. To trust God in all things. You can't have radical acceptance if you're getting disappointed with the way people are acting, and you don't like what this person said, or this didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to turn out. That's the opposite of accepting. And so this managing expectations, you're gonna have to practice it if it's something that doesn't come like naturally to you. I had to practice mine. And that's what the video is about. It gives you some tips and some tricks and some tools to kind of start reshaping your brain, creating new neural pathways of less suffering. That sounds good, right? Right? Less suffering? Woo! I'm all about that. And it works. I'm telling you. There was a lot of things that played into the change that happened in me. But learning to manage my expectations and not put so much weight on what's going on. What's going on? Why does this person not like me? You remember I was talking about earlier in the video where I was so much I needed everybody's validation, like I really need people to like me and everything like that. There was a lot of suffering in my life because of just that expectation of needing everybody to like me, and a handful, if not more, people not liking me. My buddy's girlfriend or whatever, and it would eat at me. And then on top of that, my expectations that I had on myself to be they're just unrealistic expectations. I see it so much in my stepdaughter. She's got ADHD like me. She got a pretty good case of it like me. And I see a lot of the mental health things in her. Not like she has mental health diagnosis or anything like that. But, she goes through like little phases where she'll start getting in cognitive distortions, and this always happens to me. I never this, and or she'll negative filtering out all the positive stuff and just focusing on the negative, and we all do that. But I can see it so much and how well these things actually work because I'm outside of myself and I'm looking, and it just works and happens so much quicker in a child because they haven't created all of those bad neural pathways and strengthened them. Strengthened them still sounds wrong. They haven't done all that. So it's a lot easier for their brain to make the changes. So I'll teach her something that I've learned and that I teach about managing expectations or whatever it may be. And I see it. It takes a little bit of time, but not as much as it takes for an adult. And I see how much these things work. Guys, I have to go teach a class at Honey Lake. Let's see if there's any of these things I can. Sending love and light. Stay in the frequency of love. Cool, definitely. Oh, is that Mr. M? M Wells? I don't want to say no names, but what up, y'all? I don't understand this bottom one, I don't think. I know you mean good, but what you are saying is making the world a worse place to be in. Not sure if I follow that. But Oh, and then they said, oh, please up here. Well, if what I say you don't like, just don't watch it. Because I'll be honest, you're going to have a hard time changing the way that I see things now. Now, before, I was so fickle, it'd be easy to influence me. And I'd be worried, why don't you like me? And I'd be trying to like pander and make sure that everybody knows. And I'm not saying that this person is that. I'm just saying if this were a person that was like criticizing me and stuff like that, the old me would be like, I got to make this right. Sorry. But now I know that what I believe in and what I preach, I could be wrong, but I am so certain that what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing. That if someone doesn't like what I'm doing, I'm not going to care. That's the whole point. So there's a couple things. Really, you should watch that video. Even if you did go to Honey Lake with me, and watch that video that I posted earlier today, because it's going to be a good reminder for you on all those things. Remember the sorry? How many of you guys say sorry way too much? Me. Even now, I still say sorry too much. That's why you'll hear me when I've said sorry and I say not sorry right afterward. When you say sorry, this hit me. Some of you guys that might have left, you might not remember this part, but think about your neural pathways that we talked about, and let's think about neural pathways with speech. How long have you been saying mom? That's probably one of your strongest neural pathway with words is mom. Mama. Dad. Dad. Right? What's another one? What's another word you've been saying a long time? I hope you can tell that I'm leading up to sorry. A lot of us have said sorry since we were 1 year old. Maybe 2, I don't know. When do kids start talking? They're like 1? All right, well, whatever. When kids start talking, especially if mom and dad have said sorry a lot, they'll get in their vocabulary. And when they break the cookie jar, they're experiencing all the negative emotions. Shame, guilt, disappointment, all of this stuff. Oh man, I messed up. I'm sorry. So you've been doing that. And when you were very young, you did that a whole bunch of times whenever you messed up and sorry. And it got ingrained in there. And so that word sorry comes with a lot of unnecessary negative emotion that is being brought in from your childhood. Now this stuff happens subconsciously, guys. It's not like you're gonna say sorry and then think about when you disappointed your family as a kid, or that you broke the cookie jar. Your prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex is not going to think about it. It's going to be the back of your mind, your subconscious. Your subconscious, if you say sorry all day long, when you're laying down at the end of the day, your subconscious is going to be thinking, man. Now, this is not for everybody, but for a person like me, when I came through Honey Lake, I said sorry about everything. Sorry. And I actually went into one of my favorite teachers there. I walked into his class. I wasn't late. I was the first person there, and I walked in and I said, sorry. He said, what are you sorry for? I said, I don't know. He said, you should maybe think about maybe not saying sorry so much. And so I started working on it. And the way I broke it, which I still say sorry, I still try to work on not saying sorry. I've broken it though, and so it's not all day long. But try to say, I apologize. Because if you're trying to not say sorry and you say, I apologize instead, it gives your brain time to think about, like, is this something I should really like be sorry about? Like, I'm getting my water at the water fountain and someone's waiting behind me, and I turn around and I go, oh, sorry. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was getting water. I was there before them. They're waiting after me. But we do that. Oh, sorry. Let me get out of your way. That's just an example of like how we say sorry for no reason. So if you are one of those people that does that, go watch the video. Toward the end there, that's when I start talking about the little tricks and the trades and how we can start managing those expectations, guys. I love y'all for sticking around. I love y'all for not sticking around. I got love for y'all. And we'll do this again sometime. Real soon. Real soon. All right, y'all. I'm gonna holler. Hey, wait, anybody got anything before I leave? I'll wait just a second, just to see if anything comes in. It's a mess. Look at this setup I got going on there. I got the chair on the back of the couch. The ring. I'm going to have a better setup next time. But I got this idea about noon, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do it. I've been wanting to do it, but I didn't really ever think about it. I was like, I've tried to do live before and like figure out something to talk about, and I just felt very awkward. So I just like, let me just, by the time I start teaching a class, I'll be lucky if I even make it through all the material without just rambling on forever. Look, 2 hours we made it. God bless y'all. I hope y'all's day is great. I hope your week is great. Lord, I'm just going to pray right now for these people. I just pray, Lord, anybody who hopped on this line or anybody that's still around, Lord, I just pray supernatural peace that surpasses understanding to rest on them in their life. I just pray that you start to open doors for them, God, and you start to shut doors. If you need to lead them in a direction, God, you make it almost impossible to go any other direction, because I know how good it is to be asking you, what do you want, God? Where do I go from here? It's fulfilling. Life is good. I want that for these people. Lord, give them a double portion of what you've given me, Lord. Let them have such a successful recovery. We thank you, Lord. You are so good. You are so, so good. You are so good. I love you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, y'all. I'm going to holler. Wait. Must be British, I'm afraid. All right. I'm going to holler at y'all. Peace. Yes, stop.